The On Point podcast. First of all, thank you for joining us. We have 7 series in total. This first series has been dedicated to authors, writers, and communication experts that we aim to expand on, hopefully get some guests in the not too distant future, discuss what we believe is to be more interesting topics. The feedback that we've received so far direct from our partners has been very good. And yes, we'll move on to other areas with other series across the other topics that we work on. We are going through a very deep non-fiction segment at the moment, but that doesn't mean we don't know our stuff when it comes to fiction. It's just we have a backlog of material to get out there into the market, some of which has been a little bit delayed due to presidential elections and other world events. So we're just concentrating on the non-fiction side, but we do have a fiction division that's also working on projects. It's just there's a 70-30 mix at the moment. The reason why that's said is that if you're listening to this and you're a fiction author or an indie author, please don't think that you can't get involved. Please don't think that you can't engage. Please don't think that we're not interested. And please don't think that we can't help. We don't charge anything to any authors that we help, a lot of which is done by building relationships and giving advice. And podcasts such as this are part of that mix. But I think it's possibly important just to help touch base again in terms of how this podcast has come about. We call these notes intermission notes, but we'll title this one differently. And On Point Publishing has been around now since 2006. It commenced on the streets of New York all those years ago, and it's been the backdrop with an awful lot of material used with some very significant brands. It's then been part of very major communication campaigns, or at least the material has, with a lot of information being used as the playbook. And this is what we can now put into the market. The break from COVID formed a natural break between all of that work and those works, so we can now step forward in different ways. But even if we just go over that mix of disciplines that I've just mentioned, that's how we've learned our traits within fiction as well. So if you're writing pieces for advertisements, for corporate storylines, for equity stories, they call them, when an organization wants to float itself, to sell shares without getting too business technical on that subject, or even to create storylines or works for music, for DJs that we work with, and for the movies. We've got a couple of projects right now that we've got the movie rights for, but we just want to get the non-fiction works out of the way first before we can concentrate on those features. But we know our stuff, and we're open-minded to keep learning, and any techniques and tactics that we use, we always modify and test and recheck. So we're confident that when we put something into the market, in whichever format that it is in terms of material or techniques that we're trying to promote, it still works. And there's a great team of people that have come from behind all of that can validate that as well. So, we hope that you'll enjoy that material. It's been tried and tested over many years and now proven to work. And when it comes to this podcast, we started it by doing some media because we started to enjoy integrating a lot on social media. If you note what I've just said, we had to put the brand behind, well, the publishing brand, should I say, behind other brands that we were working with over the years. So not many people came to know of On Point Publishing until recently. So therefore, we didn't really have a social media presence. We've started all of that afresh. We don't go through the remits of buying followers and paid for engagement, all of those things that you'll be surprised how many individuals and companies do. So we're building our social media presence organically, and it runs alongside everything else that we do. But in between those publishing tasks that I often label as being a little bit laborious or boring, we found that social media was a great way to integrate with the community, the various communities that we're aiming to service, to get to know people, to meet them. And that's the main reason that we do it. You know, we enjoy doing that, and we try to add as much value as we can when we do. And this podcast came about by doing some media for things such as that, and for some higher level productions, whereby we noticed that little conversations or mic checks or various sound checks, whatever they might have been called, didn't quite make the final cut. And when we noticed that they were there, we said, well, instead of deleting those and ignoring them, can we grab them and integrate them into some form of media? So we've been able to do that. We have agreements in place that we can't put all of that material into the market openly. Some of the material can only exist through exclusive remits, like we have an awful lot of exclusive content on a Patreon, which has been a great partner to work with, and we're just developing things further with them. But you'll of course now notice our episodes on Spotify and YouTube. But what we then realized as we got into the flow of them producing those episodes, some of which aren't brilliant, said they're from sound checks and things, but at least you will see us in our authentic self, and there will be a label in terms of how the material has then been produced. We got in the flow of producing other content and material, and that's then the expansion of this podcast. And even though we've done one or two live pieces, one thing we always aim to do is just record something and put it out there, opposed to going back and deleting things and chopping things out. So at least you're able to see us in our authentic self, with our thought process and our ideas at that time. So I hope that you're finding it useful. We hope that you're finding it informative. We're open to meet more of you. We're open to discuss more elements and to integrate more, and to even get some guests online and into the podcast for the future. But if you want the exclusive content, head over to Patreon. And you've also got us on YouTube and Spotify in the meantime. So hopefully that helps as a little bit more information. Hopefully that helps just as background info as well, in terms of who we are, where we've come from, and what the podcast has been all about. And we'll certainly look forward to meeting and getting to know more of you as time obviously moves on.